And welcome back. It's exactly 3 minutes past the top of the hour. We have about 57 minutes of a good discussion. Best brains in the field of political analysis tonight. Mark B. Chachi, he's a political analyst and he's from my alma mater. Lazima Twende Strong. Right? Clever people, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Clever people. Clever schools.
Clever schools.
Yes.
Good schools.
Which school is that?
No. It's not important.
It's not in the national map.
What do you mean?
Yes.
That's the biggest.
Where, my friend?
Where? Do you know where we went to?
We went to a
Not
national
Alliance.
school when there were 7.
B.
That is
Only
Maseno
7.
school.
Exactly.
The Maseno
There
school.
were
Yes,
7.
B.
Okay. You know, when you in Nyanza, you either went to St. Mary's Yala
Or Maseno.
Maseno school.
Yeah,
And I was in
and
St.
later
Mary's
there
Yala.
was one, I can't remember. This was
No, Maranda
Maranda.
came much later.
Much later, yes. So Professor Fred Ogolla, you went to Maranda.
St. Mary's Yala.
St. Mary, you see? We
St.
used to
Mary's
beat them
Yala.
in rugby.
Yes. And in academics.
And academic generally.
No, not really.
We used to beat Yala.
Our year we beat Maseno. Our year. Thank you.
And Joshua Kipto, thank you so much for coming tonight.
Thank you.
Also political commentator and one of the best political analysts. So gentlemen, stay put. I'm coming back to you. Let's take a look at a little bit of history. We're taking you back today to the year 2015. And the headline, the bold newspaper, is right there on your screen. Kenyans to pay for members of parliament's care till death do us part. Gentlemen, Shah should have been there those years. We didn't have been burdened. So that was the headline. Same date to the month, but different year, 9 years ago. So these was Kenyans to pay for MPs' care till death do us apart. I'm just saying Shah and Schiff should have been there then.
Yes.
All right. So there's also a story there about the ICC. Then Kuria leads political actors on stage. I think he was a Gatundu, not member of South member of parliament then. So he was to lead political actors on stage on ICC. And that picture right there, members to pass a bill burdening the taxpayers with old age care long after they leave office. And then key on MP's list is cost of counseling and psychiatric health after they leave. And the last one, MPs pamper themselves after claiming they get no jobs after they exit. So they were basically asking us for money. Kipto, did they get this money?
For which one?
For all of them. Did we pay for their health care? Did we pay for their counseling and pampering?
Not really. It depends with how their medical cover is structured.
Okay.
So it's not how we pay, but it's rather the premium.
Okay.
And I think we need to get it right in the sense that it is dependent on the employer, in this case the PSC,
Okay.
and it applies across board. I don't know if you've seen the protest by the medical fraternity about Schiff and Shah, in the sense that they say they don't want to lose the comprehensive package they had. And you could see the PS public service today was issuing a statement to preempt a strike by the unions, clinical officers, doctors, nurses, about the comprehensive cover being extended for a few months.
Okay.
So it's a sticking point. So the same with MPs, it depends with the employer. But I don't think where we are at the moment with the transition, they would afford all those benefits. It
Not
would
now.
be difficult.
We don't have money. There's
don't.
no money. And the people's economist is here. We don't have that money, right?
No, there's a lot of money in Kenya. We just overspend.
On other
and
things.
we put them in wrong priorities. You know, with the budget of 4.2 trillion, Kenya is not poor. And if you look at the expenditures where they are spending the money, my goodness, let's just be honest, we have a wrong priority in the government. And I'm sure Kipto knows that. If the president was honest, all the benefits could be free healthcare, there could be free education, and there could be lower cost of living.
So there's a lot of money.
There's a lot of money.
Easier said than done. Don't forget something. There's a budget and there's the real money. A budget is a projection. And one of the reasons, now that I was in a county government, one of the reasons why the counties used to soak in a lot of pending bills and debts is because of this anomaly. What is read out as a budget and approved and adopted by the assembly or the parliament here, ultimately at the end of the financial year, you need to audit what was raised, because they project. Like for the national government, it is dependent on how much they borrow, how much KRA, how many times do you see quarterly reports?
They've already revised it. They've fallen short of
That's why we do
own set targets.
That is why we do supplementary budgets. A government of the day does not do less than 3 supplementary budgets. So my idea, I agree with him on prioritization, but prioritization should come from acceptance of reality that we don't raise the 4.3 trillion. It would make sense we implement what Prof is saying by doing one thing. let us be realistic how much money we can raise by looking at the last 3 years and also looking at the vagaries of nature, for example, things like drought, things like even whatever the money market, how much the government can tap in. How many times have you seen the government going into the market and raising a quarter or half
what they
of what they expected?
But
so with the little you can raise, can you tamper it with the too many requests and demands and focus on the core? That is when his idea
would make more sense for me, Kipto, if we would do what the president proposed the other day. Let's go zero budgeting.
Yes.
Let's start from the ground. Let's start from zero.
In fact, that is what the Constitution expects. The Constitution does not expect a situation where we are budgeting based on dreams and fantasies. We need to go back to zero-based budgeting. We need to start prioritizing correctly what is needed. And this is also where public participation and public oversight becomes critical. Because what happens in this country, we pass a budget, the public does not fully understand what that budget means for them at the local level. What does it mean in terms of classrooms? What does it mean in terms of textbooks? What does it mean in terms of roads? So that now you're not waiting for the Auditor General, you also have a social audit of your budgetary process. And this also means that your member of parliament must begin to socialize himself with the people that he leads, which is why one of the things that since we borrowed very heavily from the United States in our constitution, we should have continued and borrowed the tradition. When congressmen and senators are on recess, they go back to their hometowns, they go to town halls, they hear what the people are saying, they go and create papers about it, which is why I am so happy that MPs were removed that CDF, because their job is not to distribute bursaries. Their job is to ensure that the representation of the people budget-wise.
Ken, you have to give me 1 minute.
Okay,
for me, what does not math, you cannot have pending bills at the same time borrow money.
500B.
You know, if you have pending bills, you should have not borrowed, which means you are working on your budget on revenue generated, and now then you have pending bills. Because if you have pending bills, and at the same time you have loans to pay, why are you borrowing and you have pending bills? It doesn't math. What we know is that the high level corruption that is taking place, even using pending bills. So according to me, you can go anywhere. The biggest animal is that there's corruption. That's what I was saying today in Kitengela. Tuko na kabila mbili, wale ambao wanatuibia na wale ambao wanaibiwa. Na wanadanganywa kuna kabila mbili ya maskini na tajiri. So that maskini can go and beg tajiri who has stolen from him. For me, that's what does not matter. Because you can't tell me that you are over borrowing and you have pending bills. The math does not add up.
At all.
Finally,
we need to conclude
just
this,
to tamper with it a bit with pragmatism, what Mark is asking. That's socializing. Let me tell you why that fails, Mark. I wish you have sat in a town hall in a public participation, then you'll understand the mismatch.
A real
and
one.
the mismatch comes... Listen. Let me finish.
Listen.
Let me finish.
Let's start by saying that it works elsewhere. And Kenyans are not different
we never
beings.
just import things, and that is the danger I do. Actually, as an academic, I have a problem when someone says comparative analysis. Contexts are different. There's the socio-political culture in UK and Kenya are completely different. Let me give, for example, UK people don't operate like us when it comes to socio-economic norms. Let me give, for example, Mark, you come from a community, you come from a family. They expect, if they see Mark is here, they even expect you should help them in their social problems. In the UK, that is not the issue. People don't see that. And Mheshimiwa is not seen to be a bank for everything and help in every single thing. In Kenya, it's different. So why I'm saying that the town hall thing works for one reason, civic education, not to socialize them on the detail and say, what do you want? If you ask them what they want, the reason why MPs struggle with even those is because there's a mismatch of what the citizens want vis-a-vis what the economy can offer. My proposition is simple. Public participation has to be split into two. First thing, civic education on citizens being educated on the realities. How much a government has, even being told the truth about a budget, that this is just a proposed paper. It's not money in the bank. Most people believe there's money in Treasury. Treasury never has any coin.
That's why the deputy president. But the deputy president told us the coffers were empty.
Completely. Now that
if that is the norm, is that how it is?
Because government does not sit on money. Actually,
It comes and
government
goes.
working in treasury is the most difficult place because they don't have money they are working with. They keep calling to find out from CBK and KRA how much have we raised this month. That's when we can pay. First in, first out. What comes in, what goes out. How much can we raise, how can we borrow? So I would propose differently. Our public participation be on civic education, whereby we tamper the demands and expectations of citizens.
Yes.
Number two, it's about efficiency at the bureaucratic level, and that's where the prioritization comes in. There was a proposal, for example, by Senator Kisii, where he said, for the bursary scheme, vis-a-vis HELB and all that, why don't we consolidate? That is a governance efficiency mode. Why don't we consolidate and have one pool, one management, something like that. Number two, if it's about, for example, health, Chief Shah was a very good idea, but where is it?
Why are you saying was?
In terms of the philosophy behind it is perfect.
Oh, okay.
The challenge it is facing now is about the rollout so that it can match the expectation in terms of efficiency. Can I use biometric and ensure I'm able to get it? Does the end user, in terms of the patients, easily get assisted? Lastly, how about the providers, that is the hospitals? Because we have several segmentation of hospitals. We have, for example, the level 4, level 5, we have the mission hospital, we have the public hospital. So it's about governance and efficiency.
Okay.
So when you talk about public participation, on my part and from having participated in one, let us separate the two. And that's why even I could not get the idea why people were complaining on this impeachment, where they were saying the public participation was not sufficient. People were confusing with civic education.
Yeah.
And civic education in an impeachment process is more simplistic than in a legislative process. Why? The first 1 hour, parliamentarians would only, or the parliamentary staff would take 1 hour to explain to the people who've arrived and told them, we seek to impeach. The law is the Constitution, Article 143, 145, 144. These are the procedures. These are the now the grounds that have been raised by the mover of the motion, because it is owned by the mover of the motions, are these grounds. And for you to arrive, these evidences must be proved. What do you think? What do you say? That is enough civic education. But the idea that you can socialize, the socialize is educating them, but on the other part, we focus on efficiency at the governance level.
Gentlemen, do you want us to go that route? Because we are not going to discuss the topic. Because you started it, can you finish in 30 seconds?
I think this guy is sugarcoating things. The problem with the Shah is not governance, it's corruption.
The problem
How
with
you
Shah.
launch a portal by buying 70,000 tablets, 5,000 laptops, and putting a system for 104 billion shillings.
I think you've looked at it a little simplistic. Prof. Because that's not what I understand.
Even it was on live television,
yes.
When the guy who is in Shah could not explain percentage going to the service provider of the system, because he said it should not be more than 5%.
Yeah.
But then he's talking about 104, from 104, 58 billion, isn't it? 58 billion is going into the person offering the technology and the service. It doesn't add up.
I think,
it doesn't add up at all.
I think if you have interacted with that system, I think you've really broken it down to the simplest, but it looks like it doesn't, there's nothing in there.
Let me get the topic back on track.
I need to get to this conversation.
Let me tie this conversation about public participation into the impeachment process that's happening now, right? I refuse to adopt that bad-mannered Kenyanisms should continue to be the norm. We as a society should aspire for better. In fact, as we impeach Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua, today we expect that the next Deputy President is someone, I can proudly tell my children, that's my Deputy President. Number two, it is someone whose character is so...
You're here.
How does public participation cure that?
Yes,
You're here.
Let me finish. Okay. It is someone whose character is so above reproach that when 11 articles of impeachment are brought against him, there is no doubt in the mind of the people that he's innocent. Whereas in this case, because number one, if you look at the many issues that Rigathi is accused of, the people who voted for him were not blind to who he was. This impeachment is curing Kenyanisms that we no longer need to stomach.
My problem is, all the people who are elected in Kenya Kwanza were impeachable from day one, from the presidency. Even, I can tell you, kama maji ya Gachagua imetokota, sivyo? Inamaanisha ya Ruto ilitokota mpaka ikamwagika. Na kama ya Ruto haijatokota, inamaanisha ya Gachagua bado ni maji baridi. So if the devil is appointing a deputy president, they cannot appoint Jesus. They cannot appoint Mother Teresa. But if we had the head of state being morally upright, being straightforward, it starts from there. Kenyans will never see their right until the right person is in State House. You cannot tell me that if I'm corrupt, I'll bring clean people next to me to make for me noise I'm corrupt. I have to bring people next to me who will cheer me as I steal. And the beginning is, how did we elect a president who, for example, the corruption we are talking about, these guys were fighting over loot. Adani, who has Adani in their hands? It's him. All the chief, the Shah. You go to all the corruption cases we ever know. He's the one who cleared him of corruption. Even if they took over, there is the one again to accuse of the same corruption when now he's not happy with him. Let us know. I don't qualify to work in Ruto's government because I'm upright. So if you're upright, that's your disqualification. If you're dishonest, that's your
Are you insinuating, Prof, that the people who work for the president, if you look in there, there's no one who's upright?
That is a blanket condemnation.
Yes,
Yeah.
look. I think it's very unfair.
I will call it political, because in the sense that it is not blanketly say that everyone who works for the government of the president that is corrupt.
From where you
that one does not work. However,
the main disqualification, I cannot work for a dishonest person. The fact that I'm working for a dishonest person, a lot of questions are about me, my brother.
Okay, keep talking.
you know the beauty, Ken.
If I work in a brothel, then I don't believe in a brothel. I cannot work in a brothel and say that I'm an honest person. This is just a job.
You could be the cashier.
You could be the cleaner.
I cannot even.
What's an example?
Some people cannot even work for a cigarette company because the cigarette values are not congruent with his. So we know very well that value congruence must be there. When I say I want to work with you, Ken, there must be that I believe in your values and your values and mine can be shared.
Understandable, Prof. What I'm against is blanketly saying that everyone who works for the president cannot be upright.
I just believe that
cannot be true.
Listen.
That cannot
My
be true.
idea is simple.
Yes.
Someone like Prof, I wish we would put him to the test if given a public office. I was looking at the case, how I've been keenly following post-Gen Z protest, the leading lights that emerged out of it, and how they have been falling by the wayside, not because of any problem, because of vagaries that comes with leadership and responsibility. For example, if you see one of them saying, I want to take a break, I can't manage expectation, there's mismatch. Now that's exactly what happens. And governance is a dynamic exercise. When you're given a position, it seems easy on paper until when you sit on the seat, things change. Why? The expectation. Number two, the problems that you encounter. And number three, the limit of the solutions you have, because it's not like a magic wand. You can show up and completely deal. Importantly, if there's a comment that captured our attention was, why do you think we had this protest? And why did it have a popular support across the Republic? It's simply because it's more or less like a Kenyan cry for a change in governance culture. It's not individual per se, it is culture. Because by the time we say these are our leaders, they came out of a process endorsed by the millions of Kenyans. So it is a two-way traffic. For us to get to where, and that's why I was saying public participation is not as easy as people just say it is. And that's why I say, for example, if you ask me, the public participation for the impeachment was done above what would be expected, and it would be difficult for the court to stop it because they have adhered to the level. Look at what the courts have been ruling the last, up to the 6 petitions that have gone to High Court so far, so good. The last that was positive was only that it be done at the constituency level. Why do you think Parliament quickly accepted and went ahead to gazette an extra day? Because you can see a sense of compliance and a sense towards moving towards this. However, you cannot get an absolute, because I have a problem with this absoluteness that we come with. We say a government has to be run, yet it is a cultural problem in the sense that if you want to change our corrupt way, then it means evaluating our values as a Kenyan people, not as just the leadership. The leadership is a representation of the people. So my idea would be simple. It starts from somewhere. The leaders can take the lead. 1 or 2 people can start, show some efficiency, show some degree of care. And I've seen Kenyans always rally around someone who shows some sense of concern. How do you think, why would you think, for example, someone like John Michuki was appreciated on matters efficiency? Yeah. Because his word was, he says, give me 90 days, I deliver on this, he delivers. He says that when it comes to environment, when every ministry was giving, including environment, which was seen as a dumping ministry, when he was told this is what you're supposed to do, it was easy for him to do. Why? It tells you Kenyans are yearning for that aspect of, let us minimize the promises, for example, let us minimize expectation, but at the same time, the little that is on the table, let it be done. So that on the governance base, whether you talk about public participation, whether you talk about corruption, it has to start somewhere. I feel this impeachment offers the president a very good starting point.
Exactly.
A big starting point. Why? This helps him consolidate his government. That's one. But more importantly, listening to the concerns. Because in the public participation, and that is the beauty about public participation, they are organic. People go beyond the subject matter. Yes. They went ahead and explained.
So let me stop you. Yeah. Don't you think the same argument you are advancing tonight, that it gives the president a perfect opportunity to rethink the whole thing? That is what was said after the Gen Z protest. That is what happened after the president neutralized his cabinet. That is what happened. And we didn't see nothing.
I can give 1 minute comment on that. Yes. After Gen Z, did we not have a dissolved cabinet? Did we not have a section of, in fact,
did we have 8 coming back, or how many are there?
Listen. Yeah. More than half of the cabinet members went home. Number 3, didn't you realize something changed between the leadership and the people, in the sense that, no, let me finish. Yeah. Evidentiary. Have you seen, for example, have you seen, listen. Have you seen, for example, how cabinet ministers and the PCs are conscious about the public, to the point that even during rollout of Shif and Shah, have you seen the health ministry has been on the spot where every single day and night they have to answer, to the point I saw the other day they had to come out even and acknowledge that one case of this old man who was to go through dialysis. Why do you think they are doing that? Okay. It is because there is a response mechanism that wasn't there before. So that rethink, a reset is there.
Please, you said, Fred, just give it up.
But you see, Mark has not spoken. Okay. It's been a banter between the two.
Give him.
Mark, then the Prof can speak.
Kamala Harris.
You've taken us to you, sir.
No, I'm coming back here.
Okay.
Kamala Harris.
Yes.
Has been a senator, a vice president.
Start from prosecutor.
Yes. So, decades-long career. Her net worth does not hit 1 billion Kenya shillings. Tim Walz is a governor. He cannot buy land in Karen if he sold everything he had, because he's worth less than 90 million Kenya shillings.
Are these facts?
Yes.
Can someone check?
Can be fact checked.
Check. Are they
factual?
Can be fact checked, but it is true.
It is true.
They are not billionaires as you've expected.
They are not billionaires.
He's worth $500,000.
Tim Walz has been a leader, more of a political leader than.
He's worth about $6 million, by the way. So, what I'm saying and alluding to
$6 million is a lot of money.
No, but by
your standards,
but by the standards of how politicians in this country mention billions as though it's popcorn, you then begin to understand where it begins to bite us. And that is why I am fully for the impeachment of Rigathi Gachagua, because by the time Fred Ogolla here declares that him and his family are worth 5 billion, we can see he's running Business X, he is doing Venture Z. When the deputy president was defending himself, all of those companies had either stopped working during Kibaki's time or had been handed over. Yet, he's worth billions. What magic is this that is happening? And that is where this particular impeachment gets in line with what the Gen Z wanted.
Absolutely.
We want accountability of our leaders. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with Rigathi Gachagua being questioned. The same way impeachment saved us from Sonko. Because had Sonko not been impeached, he'd have been governor of Mombasa today. And God knows what would have happened. This country needs to also take it one step further.
Yeah.
Ben, we have not worked on the recall clauses of our parliamentarians.
No, we have.
And our senators.
No, we have.
It is extremely difficult to do.
It's, but
we need to make it simpler.
No. 10. I know, but someone has just sent Kamala Harris is worth between 8 and 10 billion US dollars.
No.
8 and 10.
My friend.
That is modest.
No, 8 and 10 billion US dollars.
Million US
She's
dollars.
worth
Yes.
7 million.
Yes,
Yeah.
between 7 to 10.
So that's why I
which
said
is
it's not a
modest.
billion
It's
shillings.
about 700 million.
Whatever Mark has said, I have no problem with, but I want to really urge my brother Kipto to see this thing this way. Since William Ruto became president, what was his first decision? And until now, if you count all the decisions he has made, have you seen any one single genius decision that is taking Kenya to the Kenyan dream? William Ruto said he had a plan, and this plan looks to be his, not Kenyan plan. He has abandoned all Kenyan plans. Vision 2030 was abandoned and thrown away. Kenyans wanted to have a middle-income economy. Kenyans are poorer now. Alternative incomes are completely done. Unemployment is going up. Poverty index is going up. Everything is going up, which is bad. Whatever is good is going down. So according to me, there's what we are putting ourselves in a vicious cycle. And I cannot tell you that William Ruto will surprise you on his second, third year. Siku njema inaonekana asubuhi. That if Kipto can tell me one single stroke of genius that he made, like Kibaki said, free primary education, and was done, I'll tell you. And let me tell you something very interesting, then I can let you continue. You know, if you look at when Obama was running for presidency, Obama, the first time, McCain almost beat Obama because McCain proved that he can fly a US military plane. And he showed he was more experienced than Obama. Opinion poll immediately showed that Obama was now losing to McCain. But Obama went and gave a very serious narrative when he was senator and McCain was senator. They brought 20 seasons when they voted. Whenever Obama voted and McCain voted, someone said yes, someone said no. McCain was wrong.
They never voted. They never voted on the same side.
No, but they look at the issues that were.
Yes, I know. Yeah.
On the 20 issues, Obama was right 20 times.
McCain was wrong
20 times. So McCain was having a vicious cycle of being wrong. It doesn't matter your experience, my brother. If you are wrong 20 times,
you're wrong.
A young person can come and is right from day 1, and to day 2, he's better than you. William Ruto is having a vicious cycle, making decisions in the wrong way. Okay. He gave us Rigathi Gachagua, he gave us an incompetent cabinet, he gave us a finance bill 2023, finance bill 2024, some 2020 budget that changes nothing. He's changing everything to look like him, she, everything, airport, Adani. The decisions that William Ruto has made shows he is incapable of making a decision for Kenya. And I can tell you, even your next DP will not be his, it will not be Kenyan deputy president, will be his deputy president.
Okay.
All appointments will going to be his. He's going to make the decision according to his plan. And that his plan is not Kenyan plan. Okay. And for me, if I'm surprised, Kipto, we shall come here again. You can call us again after the DP has been mentioned. We shall rate how much the DP is a Kenyan DP or Ruto's DP.
Free pass. Kipto.
Good. I want to answer one thing. And I really empathize with the person in the name of the current president, because every presidency or every regime comes with its unique set of challenges. Let me compare the two, because we've been using Kibaki as a benchmark. In 2003, Kibaki came on the backdrop of popular support. I don't think there'll be a president who will get such a massive support of 67% in one go. Massive avalanche of support, absolute goodwill by Kenyans. And he had two things to deliver: revive the economy and work on the constitutional reforms. Those were the major promises that NAC was supposed to. It was a spectacular failure on matters constitutional reforms, and that's why it was 7 happened. On matters politics, it was complete failure. On the economic side, he did well, and that is why he's been the benchmark of that. So he came at a backdrop whereby he needed to do something that worked. And you can remember very well, by 2005, President Kibaki had been written off by the virtue that they lost a referendum, because it was one major pillar, constitutionalism. Number 2, the political system then failed because you had the implosion of the NAC of 2002, and you had a plethora of different parties, a government of national unity coming in to try show up the remaining 2 years. William Ruto has faced the same thing. Why? In 2022, unlike Kibaki, who had 2 pillars to consider, for William Ruto, the main pillar was on economy, which, if you see the manifesto of UDA, they were selling more and more of it. That is one. Number 2, it is the pillar of governance, which is now what Gen Z have made it a major asking, in the sense that we need a governance reset. Now, when you talk about the economy, On the bit of economy, all of us are complaining the way we don't feel value, we don't see change, except that statistics speak differently in the sense that two major things that you would say they have. If they have succeeded to keep us afloat for 2 years where we've not defaulted, that was the first test of any president, whether Azimio or UDA. Whoever was to come in, how to navigate the first 2 years where we are able to stay afloat and pay our debt. That's a major thing. Number two, it is a question of have we tried to manage inflation? And that mostly on matters food. And that's why the first signature project was on fertilizer. That was well done. It is the second round that didn't go well, which speaks of the governance issue, how it was managed, which was not done as efficient as the first round, but ultimately it was able to bring down inflation. The major problem then is you measure that with the expectation based on promises. Because William Ruto is a very good politician, a perfect marketer on matters policy and promises, the expectation of the people was maybe 100%. So that even if he hits 60%, that gap of 40 is major. Number two, shifting target. As much as his government is doing everything, firing all cylinders on matters economy, the governance question rears its ugly head. And that is why you find even, for example, the advisors keep saying, we promised on economy, not much on governance. But governance is now a major asking, where people say, we can pay the taxes, we can pay our fair share, but can we get value for that? That speaks of governance and reforms. And for me, that's why I'm saying, it then boils down to this. If then the regime, and that's why I say this impeachment offers that path. The first path that came was after the major protest in April to June.
We have to agree.
Wait.
Was squandered.
Wait. May, June was the first.
Yes.
That was one. This is number two. Why this number two? Because for me, I see a silver lining in any process. In this process, Kenyans have been given a chance to ventilate. The president is definitely in the know of feeling what people say. It has offered that.
Do you think he'll react to that?
Absolutely.
No, if he'll react to that, Kenyans also feel that he should leave. Will he react to that?
You see.
Will he react to that?
Wait. By virtue, our governance has gone mainstream. And that's a good thing.
Yes.
Our governance is real time. You as a journalist, you can confirm there's no longer management over people's reaction to the point that it is instant. Let me finish. Then it will listen. No. Yes. Not more than half a minute. So this is how we're going to measure. The moment the impeachment goes, and Kenyans were right saying, yes, you may have this issue, but don't forget we have other pressing issues. Do you know what happens? Impeachment, you can see even that reality. Senate gazetted it today, after Parliament finished yesterday. Why? Because the focus is, let's settle this, let us have a stable government, and quickly focus on what needs to be done. And that is for you, is a realization of a feedback loop whereby it was clear in the public participation, people were saying the government needs to go quickly to solve our issues. And that's why I'm saying...
30 seconds done.
Thank you.
30 seconds done.
You know, the most critical thing, and these two gentlemen are talking about the same thing with two different angles. Number one, the biggest issue in this country is corruption.
Yes.
We would not have a governance issue to solve if we were not corrupt.
That's where it's pegged.
Yes, I have worked in government. If you look at the policies, the HR policies, the finance policies, the laws, the bylaws, the memos even of tightening things around governance in this country, 100%. I realized something during Kibaki's term, Uhuru's term, and now during President Ruto's term. Mwai Kibaki came into power. The biggest thing he had to fight was corruption. Kenyans sang. Kenyans arrested police officers themselves, took police to police because of fighting corruption. The day the Kibaki government faltered on corruption, it lost in 2007. Anglo-leasing. The truth of the matter is this. We as a country need to look ourselves in the mirror and say, corruption has to stop. And I hear how. It is simple. The people who are suspected of corruption should be removed from office.
Regardless of their position.
Regardless of their position. Because in Japan, it is normal. that if a public train
Delays for 30 seconds.
in fact, if it delays, people quit.
Yeah.
People quit their jobs because
They
of 30
take
seconds of delay.
responsibility.
So the idea that we have people who have corruption cases that have been there for 10 years. So our letdown in this one is the courts.
Okay.
That court system does not work. But the political system of impeachment to remove leaders who stink of corruption should be done quickly and often.
We close the chapter.
By the way,
Prof.
Ken and my brother Kipto has to know that in as much as may look like the impeachment of Rigathi Gachagua is his failure, actually, ultimately, it's William Ruto's failure because he chose him. Remember, all of us, I'm sure, Ken, you're the one I saw somewhere on TikTok that you're not yet married ladies are saying you should, but I believe we are married. Once you get married...
What are you talking? What did you
left of field.
Bro, how did you just
No,
throw me in there?
I saw somewhere, so I don't know. I'm just giving a caveat. I don't know that you are, but I'm saying...
Bijuk was just
once-
chilling.
Yes, one of the biggest...
With my many wives.
One of the biggest decisions you can ever make in life for a man is the woman you marry. And for a woman is the man you marry. If you marry the wrong woman, 80% of your problems are with you. If you marry a bad woman, you will remain a philosopher. All women are bitches and the rest. And if you marry the wrong man...
Withdraw.
No, it's true. I'm saying
the
you
language,
become a
my
philosopher.
brother, the language, please.
Sorry, what I'm trying to
It's
say,
10:30.
you'll just become a philosopher by saying all women are bad,
Yes,
isn't it?
that's
because you made a wrong choice. If you make a good choice, you say all women are very good and women the same. So by William Ruto choosing for us Rigathi Gachagua, then now impeaching him, that's an error in his decision making.
Okay.
By choosing a cabinet that again you say are incompetent, then again replace because Gen Z revolution shows you are wrong decision making. By you coming with the finance bill, which later you reject. So you can see an error after error in decision making, and then you're telling me the same William Ruto has
So
a clean
are
slate.
you saying, Prof, that because of that record that you've mentioned, then the president shouldn't impeach Rigathi Gachagua?
No, I've just
Is that
said,
what you're saying? Because you think it's an error
Kenyans
also?
are waiting,
Yes.
as Kenyans are waiting, thinking that something will happen after, like he says, that now we are stabilizing the government, then we shall see something good. I remain optimistic because the record of the man we know. So let me just again say that if you ask Kenyans, between impeaching Rigathi Gachagua and working on the issues which are affecting them, Adani, isn't it? Which will Kenyans put forward? That's why I don't like
Priority.
this very simply opinion poll, should Gachagua go home or not? What else could we be doing about it?
Okay.
What is a national priority?
Okay.
And then I want to state that corruption cannot end if the person on top also has an issue. If the person on top, for example, Ken, let's say, for example, we take over government, isn't it? Then we say that from today, we have status where we stay. Everybody has his salary. No one should make money with the government. And if you say as head of state, I don't want anyone to make money for me. Corruption will end that day. But if governments for deals, where people fighting deals, Gachagua and William Ruto fought over deals. It's the curse of vice presidency, we know that. What Kenyans need is a lean and a clean government. Period.
Okay. Okay.
Lean and
clean.
clean. If it's lean and clean, all this development you're asking for will happen. Kenyans will be happy. But so long as we have broad-based government, and then we have a corrupt government, broad-based, fraud-based, and corrupt-based government, then you are wishing that you are going to go to heaven. I can tell you, you can never walk on Satan leading you to heaven. They don't take you to heaven, they take you to hell.
Gentlemen, I'd like to push the conversation forward now, Mark. You're eating. And okay, we have a list, we call it the wild card. And we'll begin with a few. So each of you will take one. And I'll start with Kipto. So let's bring the first wild card tonight, because these are possible candidates for the position of deputy president. Let's bring the first one. Anne Waiguru, Governor Kirinyaga. Kipto?
No.
No. Why?
I don't see it because I don't see. I haven't felt that shift towards support around Anne Waiguru's candidature. The little I saw is when the G7, the so-called G7 group of governors coalesce around her, but it didn't generate anything beyond that. Because in this case, I look at the constituency being MPs, because they're the ones who will have to approve once the president nominates. Number two, within the presidency and the political calculations within the Mount Kenya region, to be honest, I don't see. A distant wildcard.
A distant. And not forgetting during the national prayer breakfast, when the president said when the governor is a female, the deputy becomes a male. When the president, essentially, in fact, this is the first thing will hold him to account when he's nominating the deputy. Yes. This is the first thing will hold him to account. Okay, keep talking. Anyone with a contrary opinion, we really need to run fast on Anne Waiguru. Just briefly, I
think Anne Waiguru had corruption cases before, and you cannot impeach someone for corruption, then bring in someone who has allegations.
Okay, that's okay. Let's bring the second wild card tonight, and this is Irungu Kang'ata, Governor Murang'a, Prof.
I think that is very far-fetched even to think about.
He's a performer. He's brought real change. He went to the ground and decided to work for people of Murang'a. And the opinion polls rank him very high.
But you see, the boss might not want someone who is a high performer.
Okay.
Remember, Gachagua said he should be forgiven for having zeal to work.
Okay.
And when someone asks for forgiveness for zeal to work, it will not work. And I'm thinking that elected leaders are less likely
to take over
because
of dynamics. But for governors, it's easy. You move, the deputy ascends.
Because if you take the governor of Murang'a and bring him to government as deputy president, there will be election in Murang'a.
No, there will be no election. The deputy president becomes the governor, and then they nominate
the deputy governor.
It's approved by the county assembly.
Well, I mean, that works. But for MP,
I think for him, so the answer is no. Irungu Kang'ata, you don't think so. Mark, any contrary opinion on this?
For Irungu, I agree with him. I'll just say, if it ain't broken, don't fix it. He's doing well in Murang'a.
Don't touch. Exactly. In fact, that was going to be my point.
Number 3. Let's see. The wild card number 3 is Gladys Wanga, Homa Bay. Broad-based government. Mark.
One place to broad-based government.
Yes.
2 is a wild card in the sense that the president is looking further west. But let us also look at what the opportunity the president has. He has either the choice to choose tribally and choose someone because of tribe, or he has to capture the moment and choose someone because of competence and capacity.
Okay, so what is your take?
She has a chance.
She has a chance.
For me,
don't mention any other, just deal with Gladys Wanga.
You wanted to go my own wild card.
Okay, anyone with a contrary opinion?
Contrary opinion is that Gladys Wanga would be coming in, if it's a question of Gladys Wanga, you're looking from the political constituency of ODM, which for the ODM, it's never about individual. ODM is more of a corporate entity. And the corporate entity at the moment, the major asking for ODM at the moment is for Baba to get AUC chair. So Gladys Wanga is completely off, zero chance.
Completely off, zero. I will go to number 4. Number 4, okay, let's see number 4 now. Is Professor Kithure Kindiki, Interior. He was the front runner
actually,
in 2022.
Kindiki is a serious contender in the sense that it will be a natural choice, in the sense that it will be a case of this was the person who was to be. That will be the first argument. Number 2, it will still be within Mount Kenya, but a diversified ticket being Mount Kenya East. If West is lost, East may be something. But mostly, I would see it more or less like a conservative choice or a safe choice where the president doesn't want to basically falter much. However, as has been the case, every time we've predicted something that looks so obvious, it hasn't been obvious.
A different route. Anyone with the contrary? Just briefly, there are so many.
The contrary thing is that, you see, if you look at Kindiki, having led the Gen Z squashing, it will look like elevating and not even being apologetic about the abductions and the killings and everything else. So the Gen Z, if concerning the Gen Z feeling, I think William Ruto should change his mind.
It's not a natural choice. Mark, can we move on?
Well, regardless of who you're showing next, the president is going to surprise us.
Okay.
All these people.
What do you mean?
No, let me tell you. When the president fired his cabinet, surprised us.
He surprised.
Picked a new cabinet, surprised us
again.
Chose regarding Gachagua, surprised us.
Okay, let's bring the next one.
No, but Mark, listen, he might surprise you, but he doesn't surprise you this time.
All right, Mark, Mark, you take who's PCS?
Because it might be shocking. That might actually happen.
Might. Musalia Mudavadi.
For me, if the president really wants to bite the bullet now, he should take Musalia.
Okay.
Because if he takes any of those people and he wants to be serious about Western Kenya votes, then he's just delaying the decision.
Right, Musalia Mudavadi, how many votes did they bring because he was supporting the president? Away from that, you want to comment about the PCS, a very good friend of mine?
PCS, I feel he's already in a very good
position. We let him do that.
Number two, he's helping the president balance off, like he has that calm composure that so far so good is working for him in his position as a foreign affairs, as PCS. Okay. I wouldn't see why the president would want to tamper with what is working in that space.
Okay, next, let's see who is coming in. Number 6. Majority leader in the National Assembly.
I'll go first on that.
Yeah?
A serious contender because
serious contender?
He's owned, the thing is, he's on the impeachment.
He's stuck his neck
actually,
out.
you remember how Boni Halwale prosecuted the impeachment of Kimunya?
Yes.
Now, the Kimunya of this impeachment is...
Rigathi Gachagua.
Now, that Rigathi Gachagua must go, it is Ichung'wah.
Okay.
Ichung'wah is the face of the impeachment. So that may give him a head start of being the beneficiary and a director. But more importantly, constituency, which is Central Kenya. And maybe the president would be seeking to defeat the notion that he has an issue with the grouping, because, you know, Rigathi has made it a case of Usiguze Mirima in the sense that don't touch this. So if he picks, for example, Ichung'wah, it will be a direct answer to that by saying, I have no issue with the people, it's the person. And number two, he would say, now that the MPs have, because the president will not say he has a problem. He's not said and he will not say. I expect him to say, now that the MPs and Senate have decided to remove my deputy, then I'm inclined to still go within the same.
I honestly think that will occasion a by-election, right?
Yes,
yeah.
And if it occasions a by-election, does UDA want to have a by-election in Central right now?
Not even in Central, Kikuyu.
Yes.
And we don't even have IBC.
And it's a very,
but if Ichung'wah is given, if Ichung'wah becomes a deputy president, and they want to lose the election in Kikuyu.
No, let me tell you, this is at a point, politically speaking, just after the Gen Z protests, the kind of upheaval, you saw the kind of public participation that happened countrywide. You do not want strategically to put yourself into a political contest right now. It's too, the water is too hot.
It's too hot.
Can I share my wild card?
And not yet, about 2 more. And I think Kimani Ichung'wah has stuck his neck out, and it will be really, really unfair to Kimani Ichung'wah. I don't choose for the president what he does. For the president to pick someone, and Kimani is sitting there and will say, I really fought for the president. He didn't see me. So anyway, let's move to Kiharu now. Ndindi Nyoro?
0.
Ndindi Nyoro, 0.
Look, I really empathize with him in the sense that he is trying to more or less ensure himself politically. Because if you saw the reaction within the mountain, they were mostly pro-Rigathi, to the point that whoever is seen to fight Rigathi seems to take a flack. So he played safe, but at a cost. In this process, in such a political process, it is personal. Okay. And by virtue, he didn't partake and he sat out. The same thing when it comes to replacement, he'll be told, just continue sitting out.
And I think to remind you, also as a chairperson of the budget committee, I think when the president was fighting all this fire, him and Kimani Kuria should have stuck their neck out and owned it. Anyone with a contrary opinion?
I have a contrary opinion because for me, Ndindi Nyoro is highly qualified.
He's highly qualified.
And if you're looking for someone who is qualified, especially on the issues of finances and the rest, I think that if you're looking for competence, he's among the most qualified Kenya Kwanza.
So Kiharu, no comment. Let's move on. How many more do we have? After Ndindi Nyoro, Mutahi Kagwe, and go to the next one. We comment on both of them at one go. And of course, Peter Kenneth, wildcards. Mutahi Kagwe, performer, Ministry of Health from Central Region. And of course, Peter Kenneth, performer, Gatanga from Central Region. Totally out of the government, like Prof said.
The best thing, and the wildcard I was talking about, is such a wildcard.
Yeah.
That the president, 1, looks outside of UDA.
Yeah.
2, seeks an opportunity to consolidate Kenya and not consolidate UDA. And if the president does that and then chooses people who immediately when they are brought into office, like Mutahi Kagwe, I think his ministerial position is still fresh in the minds of the people after COVID. Yeah. You create an environment where you as a president are not just looking at the tribal politics. And right now is not the time to just think tribal. It is the time to think national. It is the time to think competence. It is the time to think this governance and delivery that people are talking about is not about Murima.
Okay.
It is about
I think Mutahi Kagwe, he sat here before with me on a show, and I think he did really well. And Peter Kenneth, anyone who thinks PK...
I wanted to talk about Mutahi Kagwe,
yes,
because
just briefly.
the bringing of Mutahi Kagwe will also show that he's throwing an olive branch to Uhuru team, because this was one of the most outstanding CSS for Uhuru Kenyatta. Bringing in Peter Kenneth, I think he's going to bring a bit of competition. Someone with already ambition, it might not really go well with him.
Okay. Kipto, can I skip? Because I need to give you one at the top of my mind, because then I need to move to the Senate with your predictions of what is likely to happen in the Senate. You have a comment on PK and Mutai?
I don't see it, but there are wildcard, mostly PK. Mutai Kagwe, no chance.
Mutai Kagwe, no. Okay, but he's qualified.
You know, it's not about qualification.
Okay.
All of them are qualified. The list you've shared, all of them, I don't see a difference between them.
Let me throw in the last.
But you have to ask, what qualification does that mean?
Does it, I know where Prof is going. Prof, you will go away. We will impeach Prof.
Actually, it is political qualification, not career.
You know what is coming. You know what he's going to talk about. So we vote to impeach Prof. 3 against 1. All right. So the last wild card for me is Kalonzo Musyoka. Let me start with Kipto.
Kalonzo Musyoka would be serious wild card, in the sense that if he's offered, he'll jump and come on the spot.
No way.
I know that.
No way.
I think so.
No way.
He will jump and accept immediately.
No way.
His track record has proven that. In 2007, at the height of post-election, when the country was burning, he was the first to jump in. So what do you mean? He has history about that. Jumping is never an issue. But for me, it would be a,
what do you mean?
It would be a serious surprise, because why would the president part ways with Rigathi Gachagua and bring in another force that would immediately nurse? Because Kalonzo Musyoka is more or less like a presidential material, in the sense that he's run a presidential campaign, he's wanted to be a president, and if he comes into such a position, it's not that he'll sit out and wait. I would expect the president to be looking for someone who would be ready to sit out, support, and that's why the list you've run through, most of them we've been saying maybe, because none of those would immediately jump in. Kalonzo Musyoka is not the kind of a person who will settle in and be no, he will be keen to immediately, because he already has his own networks. He's been in government for more than 20 years, so he's not a newbie. So for me, it's completely off. But Kenyan politics is never say never.
All right.
Yes.
Prof, Kalonzo Musyoka.
First of all, Kalonzo Musyoka has been a vice president before, so
5
he
years.
qualifies. The only challenge that William Ruto might have is that Kalonzo would not want to end up just being his deputy.
Yes.
So his ambition will begin immediately, and this again will go back to what has brought the Rigathi issue with him. But I'm also concerned because today I just welcomed Rigathi Gachagua to opposition, so I'm also concerned about weakening the opposition.
You know,
Really?
Prof,
in 30 seconds.
There's been a trend.
Yeah.
The president, since he got to power, has been making his political entry very broad-based, okay? And if you look at it tribally, as we often look at politics today, ODM is swinging towards UDA. You've got very small parties being outliers. Why would the president not finish clearing up the field?
Okay.
Put Kalonzo on board. Then the only opposition you have to talk about is Fred Ogolla as his career starts, and Eugene Wamalu.
And Rigathi Gachagua, who's been invited to that.
Yes,
right.
And that's our welcome.
So that was the strangest. We had to bring Peter Kenneth and Mutai Kagwe and Kalonzo Musyoka, but I just doubt if Kalonzo Musyoka will jump to that opportunity. Like Kipto is confident.
Oh, he will.
No, but you see,
Are you confident he will?
Let
On
me
the
tell
spot.
you, Kalonzo Musyoka is a presidential. He's close to the presidency, but trading in his watermelon brand is the biggest question he has to answer.
All right. Gentlemen, we played the video of the week. This was a session inside the National Assembly. When we come back, I'll give you closing moments. Kipto, you'll tell us what is the way forward from now as an advocate going forward, then governance, then we can finish, right? All right, so let's take a look at the video of the week before we close the show tonight.
Mr. Speaker, is the member Honorable Kajiang in order to say that there is a mentality that the Deputy President has a mentality to eat? Does he have any gadget to measure mentality? Is that a fact? Can you prove? Can you prove that there is a mentality? Which gadget do you use to measure mentality?
First of all, pronounce my name properly. I'm not Kachechwa. I am Kajuang, not Kanjuang. Number two, Mr. Speaker, this is a problem. Everybody, I heard them call it Raira, Kanjuang. They do. Some of you must learn that we are in a country for everybody.
Oh, God. Marian Baraza was ingenious today, all right?
Yes.
She chose that video of the week for us. Gentlemen, we have about 3 minutes to close this, so we'll give you a minute each. More important is Kenyans need to know the way forward. We've discussed everything around this, right? So I'll begin with Kipto. What is the way forward? What happens tomorrow?
Good. Now, what is the way forward is very clear. Tomorrow is a holiday, so not much. So Senate was supposed... Tomorrow is a holiday. But I'll just give what happens in just less than a minute.
Yeah.
The Senate was supposed to receive within 2 days. They received within the first day. Because once the motion was adopted in Parliament yesterday, that's National Assembly, they had 2 days. They have already expended that by communicating to the Senate Speaker, and the Senate Speaker had preempted by calling a special session today, where procedurally they have dealt with the procedural aspect of how to conduct the trial. That is done. It has 7 days within which to undertake that. And in fact, these 7 days they've already utilized, because today the Speaker was able to call a special session. Number two, the Majority Leader was to move a motion on whether to use a special committee or the plenary. And it was adopted to be a plenary. And immediately, because of that, the Speaker then ruled that Monday, Tuesday is when they will have the trial, which is 2 days, after which, because it is still within their 7 days, after which they still have another 10 days to make a decision. But what I foresee, this matter will come to an end by next week, Friday.
Thursday.
By next week, Thursday, it will be close, because Monday, Tuesday is when they would have the trial. Another thing people need to know, there's still a space in between for the Deputy President, His Excellency Rigathi Gachagua, to call it quits.
To resign.
I foresee it in a small way, not confidently, in the sense that if it's a question of being pragmatic, because there are two options. Either you die by the sword at the Senate level and wait for the court.
You're eating
That's
out.
a long shot.
Yeah.
So if he resigns in between, before the Senate trial begins or concludes, that brings the matter to a close. Maybe. That is a maybe.
Okay. Okay, so legally, once he resigns in the middle of the process of the trial, it's over.
It's over.
It's over.
He
then salvages his political career.
He can come back again.
And
because if Senate concludes, then we will say, actually today it was misleading to say he's been impeached. It will only be his motion of impeachment at the National Assembly was adopted. Impeachment will be after the trial at the Senate. Collectively, that's when he's impeached.
Okay. Prof?
According to me, it will be more interesting just to allow the Senate to impeach him, actually remove him from office, because I look at all the offenses there, they are not impeachable offenses. And you remember Paul Mwite is the lead counsel of the 1916 lawyers he's having. And if you talk about, for example, corruption, that's a criminal offense. They should have just taken to court, not taken to impeachment. So there are some grounds there. Even there are grounds for the issue of public participation, even if you don't agree with me. There must be some grounds there. So they should just allow the Senate to impeach him or remove him from office. Then we go to court, even if he cannot be brought back. But the court can declare after he is long gone and he's been replaced that he was improperly impeached or improperly removed. Then he can contest, because what you're asking for is that he should be given a chance to contest for election.
Okay.
There's no two way. Once the
Once
impeachment is successful and the court does not overturn,
you're
it's
impeached.
over.
But I'm saying
Finished.
if the court can declare that this impeachment was not properly done, I think you have a right. And remember, there's
That's
a
a
right to the
court
Constitution
Yeah.
that gives you a chance to even appeal if new evidence emerges. So give him a chance.
All right. Finally, Mark,
First,
1 minute.
I thank the framers of our Constitution. They included gross misconduct, criminal activity, and refusing to obey the Constitution. This process of impeachment should be supported for the simple reason that Kenyans need a simple, precise, and effective way of removing bad leaders. And I pray one day we will wake up to a country where leaders do not wait to be impeached. When the newspapers prove that you have a case to answer on corruption, you go home. That is the Kenya we should all hope for. And if we find ourselves defending people who are impugned on issues of corruption, we are on the wrong side of history.
Okay.
It should always be easy, and Kenyans should be on the same side whenever it is a chance to remove bad leadership from office.
In fact, Ken,
thank you. No, we've run out
it is
of
the
time.
reason why even the court is trying not to interfere with the process so they can do a proper audit on this.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, gentlemen. We asked you tonight if you think the Deputy President will get a fair hearing at the Senate, because they have said that the National Assembly was, the mind of the National Assembly was already made. The Speaker and the Deputy Speaker and all the members of the National Assembly. I'd like to read 3 final interactions here on Twitter, because we asked you to also respond on Twitter. Joseph Chebukaka says, His Excellency Deputy President is innocent. Our MPs are the problem. They are under orders. Parliament is now an arm of the executive. I am 100% sure no fairness will happen in the Senate. Deep impeachment is not based on facts, but by the direction from the master who is in the executive. And one more. Junior Kadot says yes and no. Yes, in the sense that if he defends himself by showing that he's innocent, and that even if he committed some mistakes here and there, he's ready to change. But if he defended himself by saying he is who he is because of others who are like that, he will go home. And Louis Kipkoech Patrick says the Senate, just like the National Assembly, is compromised. Kenyans are waiting to see whether the president's capture of institutions has reached the judiciary. This country is doomed. No, Kenya is not doomed. We are Kenya, and Kenya is our business. Mark Bichachi, Professor Fred Ogolla, I've seen my team said Fred Olo. Our apologies, we'll correct that. And my friend Joshua Kipto. Thank you so much for coming tonight and sharing your sentiments. Free pass, Okedi has given me. When the Deputy President is impeached, you said, and the nomination of a new one, we want to see how Kenyan he is and how Ruto, the DP, is, right? I'll be calling you back. Have a good night on behalf of the whole team. Have a good night. God bless. And we have another